Today, we profile President James Madison, an American statesman, diplomat, and founding father. He was one of the most influential figures in the early history of the United States. The father of America's Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He wrote a series of influential essays known as the Federalist Papers. The fourth President of the United States of America. James Madison was born on March 16, 1751, into a wealthy Virginia family, the eldest of 12 children of James Madison Sr. and Nellie Conway Madison. Growing up in a well-established family, he was afforded the privilege of a fine education. Madison attended the College of New Jersey, now Princeton University, where he studied under the tutelage of the renowned theologian and philosopher John Witherspoon. It was at Princeton that Madison's intellectual and political ideas began to take shape, influenced by Enlightenment thinkers such as John Locke and Montesquieu. Despite being frail in health and often in poor physical condition, Madison's intellect made him stand out among his peers. His deep interest in political philosophy and government led him to study a wide range of subjects, including history, law, and political theory. This extensive education formed the foundation for his later contributions to the development of the U.S. Constitution. Madison's political career began in earnest during the American Revolution. As tensions with Great Britain escalated, Madison became increasingly involved in the movement for independence. He was elected to the Virginia Convention in 1776, where he supported the cause for independence and worked to organize Virginia's support for the Continental Congress. In the late 1780s, after the Revolution had ended and the fledgling United States faced severe economic difficulties and political instability, Madison emerged as a leader in the movement to reform the Articles of Confederation. While the Articles had established a loose confederation of states, they proved insufficient in creating a strong central government. The states were embroiled in factional disputes, and the federal government lacked the power to regulate trade, raise taxes, or maintain order. Madison believed that a stronger, more cohesive government was necessary. He became a key advocate for the drafting of a new constitution. His ideas were instrumental in the creation of the Virginia Plan, which proposed a stronger central government with three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. Although the Virginia Plan was not adopted in full, it provided the blueprint for the United States Constitution that was eventually adopted in 1787. Often referred to as the father of the Constitution, Madison's role in the drafting of the Constitution cemented his place in American history. At the Constitutional Convention of 1787, Madison worked tirelessly to shape the document that would become the foundation of the United States government. He was a firm believer in a system of checks and balances, which would prevent any one branch of government from becoming too powerful. Madison also pushed for the protection of individual rights, though the original Constitution did not include a Bill of Rights. After the Constitution was signed, Madison played a critical role in its ratification. As a member of the Virginia Ratifying Convention, he was a leading advocate for the Constitution's adoption, writing a series of influential essays known as the Federalist Papers, alongside Alexander Hamilton and John Jay. These essays were written to persuade the public and state legislatures of the merits of the new Constitution. Madison's Federalist number 10, in particular, addressed the dangers of factionalism and argued for a large, extended republic as a way to control the effects of faction and prevent tyranny. In Federalist number 51, he explained how the separation of powers between three branches of the federal government, as well as between state governments and the federal government, established a system of checks and balances that ensures that no one institution would become too powerful. Despite his efforts, many Americans were still wary of the new Constitution, fearing it might concentrate too much power in the hands of the federal government. Madison eventually conceded that a Bill of Rights was necessary to protect individual liberties, and in 1791, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution were ratified, securing essential rights such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press. In 1794, he married a Quaker widow named Dolly Payne Todd. Madison's political career continued to rise after the success of the Constitution. He served as Secretary of State under President Thomas Jefferson from 1801 to 1809, where he gained significant experience in foreign policy, particularly in dealing with European powers such as Britain and France. His tenure as Secretary of State prepared him for the presidency. And in 1808, he was elected the fourth President of the United States. And he served 2 terms, from 1809 to 1817. Madison's presidency was defined by external challenges, particularly the issue of foreign relations. Tensions between the United States and Great Britain, as well as France, were escalating. The British practice of impressment, forcibly recruiting American sailors into the British Navy, and their support for Native American resistance on the frontier were major sources of conflict. Madison, despite his previous emphasis on diplomacy, ultimately decided that war with Britain was unavoidable. The War of 1812 was a defining moment of Madison's presidency. The war, often called the Second War for Independence, was marked by significant battles and challenges, including the British burning of Washington, D.C. in 1814. Though the war ended in a stalemate with the Treaty of Ghent in 1815, the conflict helped galvanize American nationalism and contributed to the demise of the Federalist Party, which had opposed the war. The United States acquired 26 million acres of land through treaties or war from Native American tribes during Madison's presidency. Retiring from public office at the end of his presidency in 1817, Madison returned to his plantation, Montpelier, where he died on June 28, 1863. Madison's name is commemorated in many landmarks across the nation, with prominent examples including Madison Square Garden, James Madison University, the capital city of Wisconsin, and the USS James Madison. Here are some quotes by James Madison. "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. The advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only garden of true liberty. Liberty may be endangered by the abuse of liberty, but also by the abuse of power. Conscience is the most sacred of all property. The essence of government is power, and power, lodged as it must be in human hands, will ever be liable to abuse." Here is a letter from President James Madison. April 10th, 1824, Richard Smith, Esquire. "I have duly received your favor of the first instance, communicating the indulgence for which I am indebted to the directors of the bank, and enclose the note forwarded for my signature. I enclose also the amount of the discount. James Madison." James Madison, often referred to as the father of the Constitution, was one of the most influential figures in the early history of the United States. As the fourth President of the United States and a key architect of American democracy, Madison's life was marked by intellectual brilliance, political acumen, and a steadfast commitment to the ideals of liberty and justice. That's the story of President James Madison. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these messages of inspiration and hope, please like, subscribe, and share them with family and friends. And until we meet again, please remember, with God, anything is possible. Spo.